people doing great things that we need nominations. You can nominate your own organization or any organization you choose. Simply send an email to WOCA@WOCA.com and in 350 words or less, tell us why the organization you are nominating should receive 50 free chicken sandwiches from WOCA and Chick-fil-A at the Paddock Mall. We'll review your nominations and then select one deserving organization each month. We'll announce the winner and even read the winning entry on the air. Make sure to include the contact name and phone number of the organization that you are nominating. And thanks from your friends at WOCA and Chick-fil-A in the Paddock Mall.
Hi, Danny Warfel here. Get moving with Florida Credit Union's fast and easy loan approval process.
Let Florida Credit Union start up a new car loan for you today. No more waiting, hassles, or stop signs. You can even apply online. With a strong financial team behind you, you can enjoy great rates and fast approvals.
It's all about personalized service and a streamlined process.
Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life.
All right, 17 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Cole James is on the phone. He has written a book called The Grief Recovery Handbook for Pet Loss. Cole James is one of three authors. John W. James and Russell Friedman are the other two authors, and they're the creators of the Grief Recovery Method, and we're talking about the loss of someone we love. And I don't know if you use something when it's a pet or someone. My dog is my dog, you know, and I remember when I had a coworker whose dog died. The dog was like a big dog, I guess, and when it was running, he said the stomach flipped over. I guess they did an autopsy, so he knew already what caused it. Gosh. But I remember he couldn't work all night long. He was just out. It was a night shift, and he was just couldn't. He was just incapacitated by it. So
the program and the book came about by your dad's experiences, and he had some horrendous losses happen to him.
Yeah, unfortunately, this whole organization was born out of necessity for my dad, who unfortunately in 1976 lost a son who was 3 days old, and his lungs did not develop. He would have been my older half brother, and my dad had absolutely no tools. His wife at the time didn't, and unfortunately, about 6 months later, they were divorced, which is not an uncommon event for folks that have a child loss. And so he discovered some things that helped him, and that led to him helping some other people, which led to the Grief Recovery Handbook, which is the main text we use to help people. And that's now in its 25th year or 26th year in publication with HarperCollins and in 16 languages, and so we're really proud of that book and what it can do for people.
So take us down the road a little bit. What do we do? What do we do to get over grief? What are the things you learned?
Sure. So the first thing is we need to become aware that there is some unresolved loss in our lives that maybe we can benefit from working on or looking at. And so the first major thing we're going to do in our book is do a thing called a loss history graph, where you're actually going to chart from your very first memory ever up until now all the different losses that have been significant for you. And that can be really powerful and scary and all the above, just looking at those different things. And then when someone wants to kind of focus in on one of those losses, it could be the loss that's most recent, or it could be a loss that they've noticed, hey, I have had this loss for 20 years and I really just pushed it down and didn't do anything with it, and I really need to work on it. So once they find a loss they want to work on, they do what's called a relationship graph, and that's charting all of the relationship, the happy, the sad, the fights, the celebrations, again, the things that maybe we needed to apologize for, or the things that we might look at wanting to forgive the other person for, or just significant emotional statements that we need to make to people. And then we're going to search all that out and put that in what we call the Grief Recovery Method completion letter. Because we believe letters are great, but you got to know what you're putting in that letter.
Yeah. Do you know what I think is harder? Gosh, I'm trying to really be honest about this. It's hard to go through the death of somebody. That's easy to understand. It's harder to know. It's harder to know what to say to somebody who's going through it. Like if going through it myself, while that's not a good thing, I think I had a grasp on how to handle it myself. But I don't know what to say to somebody else. So will the book help me with that?
Yeah, we have a whole section in there on what to say and what not to say to people. The main thing that we want to do, especially with pet loss, is we don't want to minimize their loss by saying, don't feel bad, it was just a dog. Because it really robs them of that really unique relationship they had. The can be really painful, and the minimizing of, hey, it was only a dog. Well, maybe you don't know, but that dog went with him to Iraq and smelled a bunch of roadside bombs and helped save his life on numerous occasions. And that dog might be the most important relationship that person has. And so we don't want to ever minimize it because, again, every griever is unique. Every relationship is unique. So we want to let them tell us what that loss is to them. A thing that I would say would be safe to say is I can't imagine how you're feeling, because that's always the truth. We can't. Even if we've lost a dog too, it's a very different relationship. The other thing that I like to recommend to folks is one way to say, I know how you feel is really bad, because again, you're robbing them of their unique relationship. So I say, I don't have any clue what you're feeling, but I know when I lost my pet, I didn't know which way was up. I couldn't work my first week. Whatever your truth was, tell that, but also leave it open for them to tell you, what their truth is, what they're feeling. And then we have this kind of goofy thing that we say, which is be a heart with ears. Just listen. They don't need to be analyzed or judged. You don't need a rebuttal at the end of their statement. You just want to kind of be there and listen and hear them.
Yeah,
and they'll tell you.
That is good advice. And having gone through certain things, when I'm kind of the guy who always says, I don't need any help. But guess what? When I go through, when I've gone through things, and people have come over to my house, and I was like, yeah, you don't got to come over. I'm fine. But guess what? It was really good for me to have people come over. So, and we have some.
Totally.
The phone is ringing, Cole, and if you're okay with taking calls, I'll answer some of them. Is that all right?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Cole James is our guest again. The book is The Grief Recovery Handbook for Pet Loss. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, hello. How are you doing this morning?
Good.
Yeah, I know many years ago, my ex-wife, mother died, and I made the mistake of saying, well, I know how you feel, and she belittled me because, she was saying, you don't know how I feel. You have your mother, and I done lost my mother, and it was like, okay, from now on, I'm going to just wait and say that, like you just said, I imagine how you feel. So I agree with him. You can't never say to a person, I know how you feel, when, you still have a loved one in your life, or a dog, or a friend.
Yeah. I guess you learn from our lives, yeah.
Yeah, because the tough thing is we're all well-intentioned. We all mean the best, and we want to say things that help. But very often, because, again, we're taught to not feel bad. If you're going to cry, go to your room. We only hear that 10,000 times growing up. Yeah. We're taught to really hide from sad emotion. So when someone tells us something, we want to get busy saying, oh, don't feel bad, at least their suffering is over, or don't feel bad, they're in a better place. And while that may be intellectually accurate for that person, for us, as the griever, our pain has just started, and that's really what we just need to let people be okay with, is talking about that.
What about the hug?
The hug, trying to make feel better.
The hug is such a weird thing for me, because I don't really need the hug ever.
Right.
Like when my dog died, when my mom died, people came up to me and gave me hugs. It's like I don't really need that,
Yeah.
So, yeah. But maybe other people do. So what? What's with the hug thing?
Well, next time I'm doing a workshop in Florida, I'm giving you a call, Larry, because I would love to have you in one of my workshops. I do. There are times when people are telling some of the most scary or painful things that they've ever talked about, and you've helped kind of facilitate that and make that safe for them. And at the end, sometimes the only thing that I could possibly think to do is offer him a hug. So I'll always kind of make I won't always make a joke out of it, but I'll always say, do you accept hugs? And then I'll give him a hug. And a lot of the time it works just fine. Now, if I ran into you, and asked for the hug and you said no, that would be fine too. That happens from time to time. Yeah, but we do find a lot of folks might want that contact after a big release of emotion, or they've just read a whole letter saying goodbye to someone that that they've done grief recovery work on. Sometimes, trust me, you would want to offer them a hug.
No, I would offer it. I'm just saying that when people offer to, and I'm not saying I don't like hugs. I'm just saying at that moment, I remember at my mom's funeral, people were coming up to me and giving me hugs. I was like, I don't need that. I don't really need anything. I don't really need anything. You being here was great. The casserole was wonderful. Right. The food. Yeah. You bring somebody food. All right, we do have another phone call. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Good morning. It's such a difficult topic. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so wonderful you're bringing all these things out because, again, many people respond and react in so many different ways, and you don't know what that person needs. And the last caller, I think it's, we learn from our mistakes, and sometimes we'll say, "Oh, I know how you feel." Well, once you make the mistake of saying that, you never say it again. And it's so wonderful that you brought out to say, I can't even imagine how you feel.
That is good, yeah.
And I'm thinking of you. Thank you so much. And I'm sure this will help a lot of us more about how to respond to someone who loses a person or, anything in life. It's a difficult topic, and I thank you so much. I'm going to look for your book.
All right, thank you. That was
Thank you.
Sweet call.
Thanks for your call. Yeah, it's really heartbreaking when you hear how many people who are grieving a loss see a friend at the supermarket and they swear that they saw them, but they put their head down and go to another aisle or they cross the street passing them. Again, because we're just scared to say the wrong thing, and it's really a scary topic like your caller talked about, and we just want to make sure that I can't imagine how you feel. I have no words. That's a really truthful statement because, what do you say to someone that has some devastating loss? Sometimes you just look and you say, I have no words, and just be with them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Your book also helps people get over the guilt because no matter what kind of loss happens, the person themselves wants to think that maybe there was something extra that could have been done.
Right, and I'm really glad you brought that up. Guilt is a big word with people who are grieving, and usually it's unfortunately not the right word. It's a very trapping word. You can't really have a lot of emotional completion around "I feel so guilty." And if you define guilt, it's usually a definition around a deliberate intent to harm. I deliberately intended to harm someone. 99% of the grieving people out there, an intent to harm was farthest from their truth. And so what we want to focus on, do we wish things could have been different? I went to the hospital every day for 30 days, and the one day I didn't go, Mom died. I feel so guilty. Well, we know you didn't intend to harm Mom, so maybe there's just something in the relationship that could have been different, meaning we could have got there that one day. And so we're going to find that stuff in the relationship graph in the letter and help people get that out without using the word guilt. Just using, I wish I could have been there, but I can't, and I got to let go of that pain.
Okay,
so we got to shift them away from guilt.
Cole, we got about 90 seconds left. Let me squeeze in one last phone call. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Larry, Robin, and guests. How is everybody?
Good morning. Yeah, good.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I so much appreciate this particular segment, Larry, Robin, and author. I'm one of those weirdos that I get very attached to my animals. They're like my children, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a small dog. I don't remember, Larry, if you remember you talking about Abby here a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That passed on.
Yeah.
And you know what? It hit me for a month when she died. Now we knew she was going to die because she had breast cancer. But then she died in my arms. She had a heart attack and died here right in my arms.
Oh my goodness!
It was really hard. It took me a month to get over that, and I still sometimes feel twinges of that. And she's crossed the Rainbow Bridge here probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago now.
Jim, we're absolutely against the clock. Thank you so much for the call. Cole, thank you for being on the air with us. I have a copy of the book. Call me if you want it. I'll give it to you. The rest of us have to buy it. What's the website, Cole? And is it on Amazon?
Sure, it's on Amazon, and it's called The Grief Recovery Handbook for Pet Loss, and our website is www.griefrecoverymethod.com.
Okay, excellent. And call us if you need any of that repeated. Plus, we've recorded the interview. It'll be online. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Our embassies are on alert for potential backlash when a controversial report comes out.
In spite of the danger, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest says
the administration strongly supports the release of